This is my actual screen time from a normal day right now. As you can see, I use Audible to listen to audiobooks, Claude, Instagram, Telegram, YouTube, photos. Nothing too crazy. But many years ago, my screen time looked completely different. I would spend way more time scrolling. If we look at YouTube and Instagram, it's 6 hours in total. It wasn't until I started learning about behavioral science and neuroscience that something changed. Right now, when I look at this screenshot, I don't feel shame, I don't feel guilty. And the reason why for so many of us it feels so hard to change our scrolling patterns is because we fall into the spiral of shaming ourselves. We look at this number and we immediately feel bad about ourselves. Now I know that there was nothing wrong with me, and when it comes to social media, it's completely okay if your brain likes to scroll. That's exactly how those apps are designed. It's not a character flaw, and the sooner you understand it, the sooner you'll be able to use real science to change something. So in this video, I want to show you real examples from my life. Real habits I use every single day so that you can see how my screen time evolved over time. And why now I spend 80–90% less time scrolling than I did many years ago. Hi guys, if you're new here, my name is Veronika. Right now, I'm working on something that goes a lot deeper into everything we're gonna talk about today. It's called the Dopamine Reset course, and inside, I walk you through how to build slow dopamine habits, how to use the real science of dopamine to understand why your brain does what it does, and how to do a full proper reset to change your relationship with your phone for good. If that sounds like something you need, you can join the waitlist by clicking the link in the description. Alright, so the first important component of cutting down your screen time is looking at your data like a scientist, using behavioral science and neuroscience to understand your patterns. I think a lot of us, when we look at our screen time, we immediately get shocked by a huge weekly number. We almost never look at all the apps we use every single day, and when we do, we immediately think that we're wasting our time on completely useless stuff. So here's what a normal day looks like for me right now. And as you can see, I still use social media. I still spend around 30 minutes on Instagram every single day. Because when I, sat down and I decided to analyze my patterns, I realized that I actually wanted to keep using, Instagram specifically because I like to watch my friends' stories. I like to see all of their posts, and usually 30 minutes is enough for that. Obviously, when I post on Instagram, my screen time also changes. I probably use this app for maybe an hour total, or maybe like an hour, 10 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes. But I understand why that time changed because I like to post and I also like to see what my friends are up to. To be completely honest with you guys, I barely use my phone on a regular basis. Like here you can see that I use Claude for 59 minutes, but I know that's not accurate. Probably Claude was open and I just left my phone unlocked because I tend to do that too. So that's why Claude is at 52 minutes. That's why honestly Telegram is probably at 20 minutes because I do respond to my family and friends on Telegram, but it usually, takes me maybe 10–15 minutes tops. And when it comes to YouTube, I prefer to watch YouTube on my TV. So again, maybe it was open, my phone was somewhere, it was open, so that's why my screen time looks the way it does. And see the way I look at my numbers right now. I become curious instead of falling into shame. That is how behavioral science and habit formation work. You look at the real patterns without shame because shame, most of the time, it doesn't help you change. It only helps you hide yourself from the data. And I think when it comes to screen time specifically, a lot of us might be even scared to look at the numbers because a lot of us think that once I go into settings and then I see the number, 8 hours of screen time or 10 hours of screen time, that is going to make me feel scared. But the truth is, on certain days, I know why my screen time looks crazy because I tend to leave my phone unlocked. It's just a habit I have, and it's fine. It's not such a big deal. Screen time numbers are never 100% accurate, and that is completely okay. That's also why you see that I was using Audible for an hour. I understand that I should be locking my phone when I'm listening to audiobooks, but for some reason, I don't do that. So that's why, you see Audible here. When it comes to the numbers that you're going to see in the settings, remember that we're not looking for a perfect number. We are looking for a pattern. We're trying to understand more things about ourselves. And so the same thing is true for this day, when I used YouTube and Instagram for 6 hours total. I do admit that probably on that day I was truly maybe like listening to videos on the background, and then I did scroll for 3 hours on Instagram. But I know why. I know why I was doing that. And I use neuroscience and behavioral science to help myself change that pattern. Because at some point, I realized that something needed to be changed. I didn't like that I had that habit of scrolling. For me, it was a bad habit, and I wanted to do something about it. Okay, so once you have your real data, here's the framework that I like to use to actually make sense of it and to understand my behavior. It comes from a book called Tiny Habits by Fogg. His research says that a behavior only happens when two things line up. The first one is how motivated you are, and the second one is how easy it is to do a certain behavior. And when we talk about how motivated you are, I think here we need to talk about how much fun you're having, first of all. If you put all of that on the graph, motivation on one side, so from low to high, and then your ability to do a specific behavior on the other side, something is very easy to do or very hard to do, we get this model, this behavior model. And here we can see what Fogg calls your action line. So everything that is going to fall above the action line is basically all the things that you will actually do. And all the things that fall below the action line are things that you never do. Let's say you're highly motivated to do something, but it is extremely hard to do. So you're not going to do it because it is going to fall below the action line. It is completely understandable. A great example here would be signing up to run for a marathon. Because at the very beginning, when you just sign up, you feel so excited because you start thinking about how you're gonna get ready, you're gonna run the race, it's gonna be so exciting. But then when it comes to actually, doing the action, you realize that it's extremely hard to do. Running the marathon and preparing for it is challenging. So even though you're highly motivated, but maybe you haven't really run that much, like you don't know where to start, you don't have a running plan, it's hard to do. So that's why you don't do it. That's why your behavior, your habit falls below the action line. On the other side of it, let's say you're not very motivated to do a specific thing. You just drank some tea and you need to wash your mug. You don't really like washing the dishes, but it's only one mug. Your motivation is low, but your ability to do it is very high, meaning it's very easy to wash just one mug. So even though your motivation is low, you still go and do it because it's easy to do. Whereas if your sink was full with a lot of different dishes, that would probably make you feel overwhelmed. Your motivation is low and your ability, it's really hard to do. It's really hard to wash a lot of dishes. So most likely you would procrastinate. And the reason why I really wanted to share this graph with you guys is because it works in such an amazing way. And when it comes to your screen time and scrolling specifically, most of us tend to attack motivation. We say, I need to be more disciplined. I need to stop liking social media. I need more willpower. When in reality, motivation is a very unreliable thing in its own. And using social media is really fun. So that is why your motivation to do it is high. Your ability to do it, it's very easy, right? Using social media, there's no friction. It's very easy to do so. So that is why this behavior falls above the action line and you consistently do it. And so when it comes to your phone specifically, a much more reliable lever is your ability, working with that part of the model, making the good, healthy habit easier and more fun, and making the bad habit, scrolling, harder to do, because you probably won't be able to make it less exciting, because let's be honest, scrolling is fun, it is exciting. So that is pretty much the entire idea behind how I was able to reduce my screen time by 90% while adding all the healthy habits that actually feel good. Not relying on my discipline, not relying on my willpower, doing things that are easy, fun, and just make me feel good. Because we change best by feeling good, not by feeling bad. That's also a quote by BJ Fogg from his book Tiny Habits. So all of this brings me to the part that I really want to explain. When it comes to reducing your screen time and quitting scrolling, a lot of us tend to talk about dopamine. And dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, it's the chemical of wanting. It fires on anticipation before the reward even happens. And it fires extremely hard when the reward is unpredictable. And that is exactly the mechanism behind social media. You keep on scrolling and you don't know what the next video is going to be about. So the reward is unpredictable. And that is why you get so much dopamine out of this whole habit. That is why scrolling sits so far above the action line. You're highly motivated, you get a lot of dopamine, and it's extremely easy to do. So the behavior naturally happens. So how was I able to change this bad habit? I analyzed all of my data and I found 2 specific times where I kept losing my attention and my energy to my phone. So the first window is around 5 p.m. when I usually finish work. The reason why I would spend a lot of time scrolling at that specific time was because I was exhausted. Like my brain was tired from working so much. I knew that what my body actually wanted was to move. I actually wanted to go and exercise. But the thing is, actually making myself leave my apartment and go to the gym was a little bit too hard. And scrolling was much easier. And once I analyzed all of that, I understood that actually what was making it really hard for me to exercise was the fact that I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't have a plan. And so now what I do is every single Sunday, I sit down and I create a workout plan for myself for the next week. And once I know, the specific dates when I'm gonna go and exercise and also what I'm going to do, a specific practice, or I'm gonna, use like a yoga video and do a yoga flow using that video. Or maybe I have my Pilates subscription, so I'm gonna do Pilates or do something else, but it has to be extremely specific, right? I can't just say, I'll figure it out. No, it has to be very specific because it's something that helps me make sure that this good behavior, this good habit actually happens. Once the plan exists, I just put on my clothes and I go and work out and I do the hard thing. If I don't have a plan, my ability to exercise is probably around here. Like, it's hard to do. And okay, maybe I am motivated, somewhat motivated. So I would say my motivation is here. And so my behavior still falls below the action line. And that is why I don't do it, because I don't know what to do. I don't have a workout plan. And once I create this workout plan for myself, my ability changes. It becomes so much easier for me to stay consistent because I know what I'm supposed to be doing. My motivation can stay the same, but because my ability changed, now it's easier to do. So let's say my motivation is the same and my ability is now here, above the action line, and so my behavior happens. My next huge scroll window used to be my bedtime, and that one was a bit trickier. Again, I couldn't make my phone less motivating because my phone and social media is always extremely motivating. What I could do is obviously make my phone less available. Put my phone in a different room and use a physical alarm clock. But a different problem that I discovered was that sometimes I was tired enough to actually fall asleep just like that, but most of the times I just felt really bored. And yes, I do talk about the importance of, feeling bored. It's really important for us, but I realized that if I don't change something, I would most likely cave in. And I would start using my phone and scrolling again, and I didn't want to do that anymore. And after trying a lot of different things, I was able to discover two things that still work for me in a very good way. The first one is I would actually wait. I wouldn't go into my bedroom and lay down until I was really truly sleepy. Because if I start getting ready to go to bed and I don't feel sleepy, there's a very high chance that I'm gonna wanna scroll because my brain isn't truly tired yet. So I would spend time in my living room doing something else. And this something else was, again, something that I had to discover because I didn't want to scroll anymore. So I didn't want to continue scrolling in the living room on my couch instead of in my bedroom. The one thing that I like to do right now before going to bed is I like to use my coloring book while listening to audiobooks. So the pictures here are pretty simple, and that is exactly what I was looking for because I understood that if I bought like a very complicated coloring book, I would just feel overwhelmed. A super complicated coloring book would fall below the action line. Probably again somewhere right here because my motivation would be low because, the image looks too difficult. I don't want to do it, so I wouldn't feel motivated. And also my ability would be low as well. I would think that it was hard to do. I would think that I lacked the skills to actually color the full picture. So that is why I chose something super easy and super fun. And immediately now this behavior falls above the action line. I feel very motivated to do it because it looks fun and also it's very easy to do, so why not do it? And also a very important point here, I actually like coloring. It's not something that I had to make myself do. I was actually choosing between a bunch of different things like doing a puzzle while listening to an audiobook, or maybe, learning how to crochet. A lot of different things, but I chose coloring in the end because it's something that is really fun and something that is also easy for me to do. Crocheting, first of all, I don't really know how to crochet, so I would have to learn, and immediately it makes it harder. And when it comes to puzzling, I really like puzzling. But again, if I choose something that is very hard, then I need to be 100% concentrated on the puzzle that I'm doing, and I can't also be listening to my audiobook at the same time. That would just make me feel really overwhelmed. The audiobook that I want to listen to and also the puzzle in front of me. And my priority was actually listening to my audiobook, having all of my focus and concentration there while also doing something with my hands. Now, when we talk about habits, we absolutely have to talk about your emotions and what you use to regulate them. Because the most effective way to change and add more healthy habits into your life is by feeling good. And that's also one of the biggest reasons why we have all the bad habits in our lives, because at the end of the day, we just want to feel good, and scrolling helps a lot of us regulate our emotions. And that makes us procrastinate on all the other things in our lives. And when it comes to research on procrastination, it's been proven that procrastination is not a time management problem. It's an emotion regulation problem. You probably don't need a better planner. And what works in a more effective way for most of us is learning how to regulate our emotions and having a lot of different tools, a lot of different habits that could help us here. When we procrastinate, in reality, we're not really avoiding the task itself. We're avoiding the feeling attached to this task. Maybe this specific task makes you feel bored or maybe overwhelmed. And so that's why you choose to procrastinate and do something else. And your phone is the fastest and most effective repair tool you own. And when I look at my 2 scroll windows, I can see that that is exactly what was happening. I was trying to regulate my emotions. At 5 p.m. after finishing work, I was tired and I didn't really want to think about creating a workout plan and going to the gym. So I chose to regulate myself in a different way, in a way that was easier. When it came to being in my bed, I felt bored and I didn't really feel sleepy. So I was trying to regulate myself with my phone, with scrolling. Once I understood all of that, once I understood the science behind my behaviors, I stopped calling myself lazy. Because I wasn't lazy, I was just choosing the fastest available way to regulate myself in that specific moment. And that reframe alone really helped me because it helped me design my life around my good habits instead. I knew that I wasn't fighting my character. I knew that everything was okay with me. I was just working with a very human and a very predictable pattern. And the last piece I want to share with you is actually how I was able to revive my habit of reading and bring books back into my life. At some point, I realized that I hadn't read in like 3 months. And I really wanted to change that because I truly like books. I like learning things in a deep way, and it is something that only books can give me. The thing that was making it hard for me was the fact that I felt very tired, like mentally tired after a full day of work. So the last thing I wanted to do was, reading, sitting on my couch and looking at something and straining my eyes even more. And so I started thinking and I used the concept of temptation bundling. The idea is really simple. You basically do a habit that you need to do together with a habit that you want to do. And that is how I was able to introduce books back into my life, because what I wanted was having books in my life. And I looked at my day, at all the things that I was already doing, at all the things that I already had to do. Things like washing the dishes and doing chores and cooking. And so I decided to combine those things, and that was it. Now when I see a big pile of dishes, I don't think, okay, how much I hate this whole process and how much I don't want to do it. What I think about is the fact that now I'm gonna have some time just for me to clean, and I like having a clean space, and to listen to my favorite audiobooks. That little principle of temptation bundling was something that helped me make books a part of my daily life again. And I hope that you can see that in none of the examples that I shared with you, I relied on my discipline. I never said, Veronika, just do it. Don't think about it too much, just go and do it. It doesn't matter if you hate it. It doesn't matter if you think it's absolutely stupid and you're not having fun. For me, the most important principle was always, how can I make it more fun? How can I make it easier? And the thing is, real science actually supports it. Real science says that we need to make things more fun, more exciting, while also making them easier. Make your good habits easier, more fun, more exciting, and make everything else that you would like to change harder, less available, and less motivating. Because once you do that, once you start adding good habits into your life, from the place of, I'm having fun, it is easy, I'm enjoying it, all of those habits will fall right here, above the action line, meaning you will actually go and do them. If you say, okay, it's a healthy habit, I know I have to do it, but I absolutely hate it. I'm not enjoying it at all, it's not fun, and plus, it's really difficult. Okay, maybe you'll be able to rely on your discipline and willpower for like a day or 2 or 3, but then your behavior will naturally fall below the action line, meaning it won't happen again and you won't be consistent. So I highly recommend using this behavior model. It is absolutely great for every single habit in your life, whatever it is that you would like to change and improve. So that is how I was able to cut my screen time by 90% using neuroscience and behavioral science. If you want to actually try this, don't start by trying to want it more. I just have to want it more and then it will happen. I just have to discipline myself into it and then it will happen. Pick one moment in your day where you lose yourself, your time, and your attention to your phone. And ask yourself the super important question. Is this a motivation problem or is it an ease problem? And then once you have your response, think how you can address, a certain component. Maybe it's your ability to do something else, or maybe it's your motivation. Instead of scrolling, what else can I do and why am I not doing it? Is this the motivation problem or is it the ability problem? And how can I work on both or maybe just one of them? Because I already showed you the examples from my life. With a lot of the habits, all I had to do was tweak one component, not both, either my motivation or my ability, and then everything else kind of changed on its own. The healthy habit became something that was way more exciting for me to do. So I think it's going to be it for today's video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, just a reminder, if you want to be the first one to get access to my dopamine reset course once it's live, the link to join the waitlist is in the description below. If you want to continue watching something, I highly recommend this video right here. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Ciao!